Alice in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll. Down the rabbit hole. Alice was tired of sitting by her sister on the grassy bank and having nothing to do. Her sister was reading a book with no pictures or conversations in it. It looked very dull. It was a hot day, and Alice was feeling sleepy. She was wondering whether to get up and make a daisy chain, when suddenly a white rabbit with pink eyes ran close by her.
Oh dear, I shall be late,"
the white rabbit said. It took a watch out of its waistcoat pocket, looked at it, and hurried on. Alice had never seen a rabbit with a waistcoat pocket before, nor one with a watch to take out of it. She jumped to her feet and ran after it, just in time to see it pop down a large rabbit hole under the hedge. Down went Alice after it, never thinking how she was going to get out again. The rabbit hole went on like a tunnel for some way, and then it dipped suddenly. Alice found herself falling down a very deep well. She was falling slowly, so she had time to look around and see all sorts of interesting things on shelves and in cupboards on the way. "I wonder how many thousand miles I've fallen," she thought. "I must be somewhere near the centre of the earth. Perhaps I'll fall right through to the other side." But just then, thump, 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 down she came on a heap of leaves, without hurting herself at all. Ahead of her, at the end of a long passage, she saw the white rabbit hurrying along.
"Oh, my ears and whiskers! How late it's getting!"
she heard it say as it turned the corner. The gold key. When Alice reached the corner, the white rabbit had gone. She found herself in a long hall, lighted by lamps in the ceiling. There were doors all the way round, but they were locked. How was she going to get out? Then she saw a little three-legged table made of glass. On top of it was a gold key, but it was too small to unlock any of the doors. Then Alice noticed a low curtain. Behind it, she found a tiny door, only 15 inches high. The key fitted it perfectly. Alice had to kneel down to look through the door. There was a small passage that led to the loveliest garden you ever saw. But Alice was too big even to get her head through the doorway. "I wish I could shut up like a telescope," she said to herself. She walked back to the glass table. To her surprise, there was a bottle on it, which had not been there before. A label round its neck said, "Drink me," in large letters. Alice took a sip. It was delicious and tasted of all Alice's favourite foods, so she drank it up. "What a curious feeling," said Alice. "I must be shutting up like a telescope." And so she was. Soon she was only 10 inches high, just the size to go through the little door into the lovely garden. Poor Alice. She had left the gold key on top of the glass table. Now she was too small to reach it. She tried to climb up the slippery glass table leg until she was tired out and sat down and cried. Then she noticed a little glass box on the floor. Inside it was a cake with "Eat Me" marked on it in currants. "Perhaps it will make me grow," thought Alice. She nibbled it till she had finished it all up. The pool of tears. "Curiouser and curiouser," cried Alice. "Now I'm opening out like the largest telescope in the world." Her feet were so far away that she wondered how she would get her shoes and stockings off and on. Then her head struck against the ceiling. Alice was more than 9 feet high. She picked up the little gold key and hurried off to the garden door. But poor Alice could only look into the garden with one eye by lying down on the floor. She sat down and began to cry again. "What a great baby you are," she scolded herself. But she could not stop crying. Soon there was a large pool of tears around her, reaching halfway down the hall. The white rabbit returns. There was a pattering of feet in the distance. Alice dried her eyes and saw the white rabbit once again. He was carrying a fan and a pair of white gloves and muttering,
Oh, the Duchess! Oh, the Duchess! Won't she be cross if I've kept her waiting?
Please, sir, could you help me? Said Alice timidly. But when he saw her, he dropped his fan and gloves and scurried off as fast as he could. Alice picked up the things he had dropped. It was very hot, so she began to fan herself. She felt very strange. I'm not at all my usual self, she thought. Perhaps I've changed into somebody else. I'll see if I still know the things I learned at school. 4 times 5 is 12, and 5 times 6 is 13, she said. London is the capital of Paris, and Paris is the capital of Rome. Oh, that can't be right. I must be somebody else, she sobbed. Then she noticed that she had managed to put on one of the White Rabbit's little gloves. I'm small again, she cried, and ran off to the garden door. But now it was shut, and the gold key was back on the glass table. Now things are worse than ever. Her foot slipped, and splash, she was up to her chin in salt water in the pool of tears. The mouse's tale. Alice soon found that she was not alone. A mouse was swimming a little way off. To Alice it looked as big as a hippopotamus. Oh, Mouse, she said politely, do you know the way out of this pool? The mouse did not answer. Perhaps it's a French mouse, Alice thought. It doesn't speak English. She only knew one sentence in French from school. Où est mon chat? She asked hopefully. The mouse nearly jumped out of the water and quivered with fright. Oh, I beg your pardon, apologised Alice. I forgot mice don't like cats.
Would you like cats or dogs if you were me?
Squeaked the mouse indignantly. I suppose not, said Alice, and they swam together to the shore. A strange collection of birds and animals had gathered there. They were running races to get themselves dry, and Alice and the mouse joined in. When the mouse had got his breath back, he began to tell Alice why he hated C and D, looking around nervously in case any cats and dogs were about.
Mine is a long and sad tale,
he said. Alice was looking at his tail as he spoke. It is long, she said, but why do you call it sad? So when he began his story, Alice's idea of it was something like this.
Fury said to a mouse that he met in the house, let us both go to law. I will prosecute you. Come, I'll take no denial. We must have the trial, for really this morning I've nothing to do. Said the mouse to the cur, such a trial, dear sir, with no jury or judge would be wasting our breath. I'll be judge, I'll be jury, said cunning old Fury. I'll try the whole cause and condemn you to death. You're not attending, said the mouse crossly.
Yes, I am. I think you'd got to the 5th bend, said Alice.
I had not,
said the mouse sharply. A knot, said Alice, always ready to help. Let me undo it. But the mouse was offended and would not stay to finish his story. Advice from a caterpillar. Meanwhile, the White Rabbit's fan and gloves had vanished. So had the pool of tears, the hall, and the glass table. Instead, Alice found herself on the edge of a wood. She ran through grass and flowers till she came to a mushroom, which was as big as she was. On top of it sat a large blue caterpillar, with its arms folded, quietly smoking a hookah. A hookah is a sort of long, curly Turkish pipe. The caterpillar took no notice of her. After a while, it took the hookah out of its mouth and asked in a sleepy voice,
Who are you?
Poor Alice was not at all sure who she was. I can't remember things as I used to, and I don't stay the same size for 10 minutes together, she said.
What size do you want to be?
Asked the caterpillar. A little larger than I am now. 3 inches is such a silly size to be. The caterpillar drew itself up to its full height. It was exactly 3 inches tall. Then it began to crawl away.
One side will make you taller, one side shorter.
It remarked. One side of what? Asked Alice.
Of the mushroom, of course.
Said the caterpillar crossly as it crawled out of sight. Alice put her arms round the edges of the mushroom as far as she could reach and broke off 2 pieces. She nibbled each piece in turn till she had managed to bring her height up to just 9 inches. Then she set off again till she came to a house. Alice went up to the door and knocked timidly. There was a most extraordinary noise going on inside. Howling, sneezing, and every so often a crash as if a dish had been broken. There was no answer, so she pushed the door open and marched in.